While exploring the makeshift town of Megaton, many of the residents will refer you to Moira Brown, the proprietor of the nearby shop, the Craterside Supply. It is Moira who sells us weapons, ammunition, and scrap, and so naturally she's going to be one of the first people we visit upon entering Megaton. During daylight hours, we can find her in her shop, tinkering and sweeping up.
Hey, I hear you're that stray from the vault. Oh, I haven't seen one of you for years. Good to meet you. I'm Moira Brown. I run Craterside Supply, but what I really do is mostly tinkering and research. Say, I'm working on a book about the Wasteland. It'd be great to have the foreword by a vault dweller. Help me out, would you?
Wow, Moira! She has quite the Minnesota accent, don't you know? We're a long way from Minnesota, Moira. Hey, I couldn't help but noticing a Vault 101 vault suit behind the counter. Where'd you get it?
I'm pretty sure I remember a girl coming into town with that about 12 years ago. She didn't know a thing about the wastes, and I knew she'd get herself hurt without some sort of protection. So I offered to armor her vault suit. Never saw her again. Probably died out there, poor thing. In a way, she gave me the idea to write this book. It's yours, if you help.
Your book about the Wasteland sounds very interesting. Sure, I'm happy to give you a foreword at the beginning of your book.
Great! Just tell me what it's like to live underground all your life, or to come outside for the first time, or whatever strikes your fancy.
This outside place is amazing. In the main room, I can't even see the ceiling.
Yeah, you wouldn't imagine how hard it is to replace that big light bulb up there, too. That's great for a foreword. Open with a joke and all that. Here, take the suit. Something tells me you might need it.
I was sent as an ambassador from the Utopia of Vault 101. Bow before my glory.
Oh, certainly, Your Majesty. Then consider this armored vault suit to be Megaton's gift to your mighty empire. However, you may consider going incognito. People around here don't always take kindly to monarchy, you know.
How do you people live out here? I haven't found a food dispenser anywhere.
Well, it takes a little more work than that to get food. And good water's even harder. But you'll figure that out soon enough. Here, take the armored suit. It won't help feed you, but it should keep you from being food for anything else. Or anyone else.
It was cramped, dark, and the food sucked. Good riddance.
That's terrible. But it'll be great for a foreword. So in that sense, it's great. I think you're gonna like it out here. And here's the armored suit, just to make sure you don't get recycled into something else's food.
It was a paradise down there. No fear, no worries, no fighting, until Dad left.
A runaway dad, huh? I've seen plenty of them before, but none with the big 101 on their back. Good luck finding him. Maybe the armored vault suit will help you out there, huh? That'll be good for the book. In fact, want to help me with the research? I can pay you, and it'll be fun.
Interesting. What sort of pay?
Let's see. Dealing with radiation, testing an experimental device, and, I won't lie, it may include some reading. That sort of stuff, you know? But for all that, I can pay you with caps, meds, chems, and maybe even a few of those unique inventions, if you do a good job. Interested?
Sounds good, Moira Brown. Tell me more.
Well, it's a dangerous place out there in the wastes, right? People could really use a compilation of good advice, like a Wasteland survival guide. For that, I need an assistant to test my theories. I wouldn't want anyone to get hurt because of a mistake. Nobody's ever happy when that happens. No, then they just yell a lot. At me. With mean words.
Now, Before we go any further, let's talk a little bit about this Wasteland survival guide. We can agree to join Moira and become her research assistant. At the very end, when we've helped her write all of the chapters of this book, we will receive a perk based on how well we complete our research and based on our dialogue responses when telling her about the research that we've done. We can always be rude to her, we can always tell her we're not interested. Those dialogue options come up again and again and again. And so I'm not going to cover them all here, that would just get boring. And there are a bunch of options that don't change the outcome of the quest, they just give us lesser rewards. They make the perk that we're gonna get later less useful. And on top of all of that, there are other dialogue options we can select that will allow us to still get the best perk, but change it ever so slightly. With this video, I just want to tell the story of this survival guide. I'm gonna choose the dialogue options that allow me to move forward and to get the best reward possible. Sounds like a great idea, Moira. Let's get to it.
Good enthusiasm! Now, I think the first chapter will have to be about surviving day-to-day dangers. Things like where it is and isn't safe to find food, the dangers of radiation, and how to avoid and even profit from dangerous landmines. Ooh, sounds like fun, doesn't it? Which do you want to do first?
Oh, getting food doesn't sound too bad. What exactly are you looking for?
Well, food and medicine. Everyone needs them once in a while, right? So they need a good place to find them. There's an old Super Duper Mart not far from here. I need to know if a place like that still has any food or medicine left in it.
Great, I'll check it out.
Oh, great! Food is most important, but see if you can get medicine too. And if there's nothing to find, then just come back in one piece, okay?
Now that we've agreed to help her with her survival guide, we can find out a little bit more about Moira Brown. Now, she's a bit of a tinkerer, and I'm sure she's noticed the giant undetonated nuclear bomb in the middle of Megaton. Moira, why haven't you tried disarming it yet?
Oh, I couldn't do that. It'd be a real blow to those nice folks in the church. Besides, it's not like that bomb ever hurt anyone. Live and let live, right?
Why do you need me to do this research? Why can't you do it for yourself?
Oh, I haven't got nearly the experience in the wastes that you do. If I tried half of these things, I'd get my head blown off. At least you look like you can really handle yourself out there. All I'm good at is coming up with the ideas and fiddling with junk for caravans.
Oh, you don't want to blow your head off, but my head, that's expendable, okay. You know what, Moira? It sounds like you don't know what you're doing.
I know exactly what I'm doing. I'm trying to help mankind survive and rebuild. It's important, and I need your help. It's a hell of a lot better than wasting my talents with the caravans, repairing cart axles and coming up with new ways to shovel Brahmin crap.
I don't know, Moira. Those caravans sure help a lot of people.
Well, I guess they do bring important supplies here and there. But still, I can help out so much more than the boring old stuff they do. Writing this book will make a huge difference. Trust me.
Now it's here we can pass a speech check to convince her to not work on this book and to instead focus on the caravans.
Okay. I guess you're right. It was a silly idea. I'll just stick to doing what's important. Hey, if you're ever around again, stop by. I'll see if I can get you a deal on repairs, I guess.
If you choose this option, you can't complete the quest, but you do get some other stuff. You get a 30% discount from everything at her shop, presumably because she's now negotiating better deals with caravans. Her repair skill increases to 54, allowing her to better repair your gear, and you get the Dream Crusher perk, which reduces an enemy's chance to critically hit you by 50%. Moira also becomes sullen and gloomy.
I get a lot more done now that I'm not working on that book. I guess that's something. And that ought to earn you a discount, huh? Since you kept me from wasting my time on that book, I had a chance to refine my repair process a bit.
And she loses that perky personality we're so accustomed to. It's a handy perk, but the perk we get for completing the guide is also really good. So instead, we'll say that this book of hers is sure gonna help a lot of people.
I know, right? I figured instead of just helping out the caravans with odd junk, why not put my brilliant mind to work for everyone? And between my mind and your experience, this guide will save 12 times more lives than those greedy merchants will.
But enough about work, Moira. Tell me a little bit more about yourself.
Why, I'm an inventor, a tinkerer, and a general genius of junk. One person's junk is another's treasure, you know. And traders bring in lots of junk, so I get dibs on anything particularly nifty. Sure, I don't have as much to sell, but it's more fun this way.
If you deal in junk, you must come across some specialty items every now and then.
Do I ever? I've got the schematics for something called a rocket launcher. I sell all the components too, so you can make the weapon yourself. Don't worry about ammo. This baby shoots all the junk you might find out there in the wasteland. Ashtrays, teddy bears, you name it. In fact, if you ever need to make any custom weapons, feel free to use my workbench here in the shop. All you need is the schematics and parts.
The rocket launcher is a lot of fun, and it's really one of the only reasons to collect junk in this game. We can purchase it from her inventory, but we're getting distracted. There's a whole lot to do here. We need to stay on task. We have been tasked with going to the Super Duper Mart to collect food, and if we can find it, some medication. Thankfully, the Super Duper Mart is actually pretty close to Megaton. Heading east from Megaton will kill a lot of mole rats and even a robo-brain, until at last we come upon the Super Duper Mart. Outside in the parking lot, we are attacked by a group of raiders. Also on the ground here is the corpse of a Wastelander. On this Wastelander's body is John's key and the Wastelander note. Billy, I'm sorry I stole it. You deserve to have it back. Remember the old scrapyard north of the Bethesda ruins? Look in the burned-out bus in the northwest corner, near the old red boxcar. Tell Laureen that I still love her, and I'm sorry for everything. I hope somebody finds this before the buzzards tear it to pieces. Your loving brother, John. Now, this body, this note, and this key is actually part of a random encounter. You're not always going to find it right outside the Super Duper Mart. Instead, there's a random encounter hotspot here in the parking lot. But I'm going to include it in this video because completing this chapter of the Wastelander Guide is going to take us right by this scrapyard where we can find John's stash. We have indeed arrived at the right location. We see a big, beautiful Super Duper Mart sign standing above this place, and so we head in. As soon as we enter, raiders attack! These raiders have climbed on top of shelves, using plywood and 2x4s as ramps to create a path amongst them. My character is so low level I don't have very good perks right now. Even though I was wearing T-51 power armor, these raiders were tearing right through me. Thankfully, they melted before me when I used Ying Wei's shock sword. The raiders have moved in and made themselves at home. In the bathrooms, we find chems on the floor and even a table on one of the stalls covered with chems and caps. Heading to the western end of the Super Duper Mart, we find some locked ammunition boxes sitting on top of a counter. The wooden planks that they've used to connect all of these shelves makes for an interesting battleground. We don't find much loot over here, just a lot of tin cans. Against the eastern wall, we find a door that leads to a kitchen or a stockroom of some sort. We can complete a portion of the quest by opening up one of the refrigerators labeled food storage. Here we find a big stash of Blamco mac and cheese, Instamash, steak, and apples. But there's more to the Super Duper Mart. Let's continue exploring. On a countertop in this area, we find 2 laser pistols with some ammunition. Considering we can reach this place at very low levels, this is a welcome sight indeed. And we notice a ham radio sitting on this counter, but we can't really interact with it. Going through the cash registers, we find a lot of pre-war money, and we can go through a door on the western wall to continue exploring. We see an ominous scene here, a bloody handprint on the door, a big pool of blood on the floor. The hallway opens up to the left with a doorway. Going on through, we see a grisly scene, a dismembered corpse lying, entrails hanging out on a bloody mattress. Oh, there is a slew of ammunition back here. 5.56mm rounds, grenades, and even a copy of Tales of a Junktown Jerky Vendor, which permanently increases barter by 2. Against the western wall, near to a door, we find a locked terminal. No lore here, just the option to disengage the lock on the door. Opening this door, we find a storeroom. But as soon as we enter the storeroom, we hear a voice.
We're back. Somebody open up the... Hang on. Something ain't right here.
Is this voice coming from over that ham radio we found? Well, at my delicate level, I'm not going to risk anything. I see a Protectron charging in this charging dock. Using the terminal next to it, we see that there's a run maintenance routine option. Selecting it activates the Protectron. But before we activate it, we need to make sure to loot the employee key card on top of the terminal. Otherwise, the Protectron will turn hostile against us.
Loading personality. Robco R04 V9. Office helper. Running default office protocol. Error. Loading daily agenda. Error. Security breach detected. Please stand back.
Heading outside, we see that more raiders have taken up posts on top of the aisles. I pulled out my Gauss rifle to try and snipe some of these guys, but I don't know if it's a problem with the game or just my horrible aim, but it was a nightmare. The raiders stormed this back area and killed the poor Protectron very quickly. But with them at close melee range, I was able to take out my electric shock sword, which made quick and easy work of them. Back in the storage room, we can loot darts, ammunition, even a mini nuke, and on the wall, in a container labeled pharmacy supplies, we find a big stack of chems. This completes the optional part of the quest to bring chems back to Moira. Remember, finishing these optional portions of the quest will give us a better perk when all is said and done. In the back of the room, we find a shipment of 3 Nuka-Cola Quantums. These Quantums glow a purpley blue. We learned that this Nuka-Cola Quantum was here when we read the Nuka-Cola shipping manifest at the Nuka-Cola bottling plant. It said that there had been a recent delivery of Nuka-Cola Quantum here at the Super Duper Mart. We need to loot these and not drink them so that we can turn them into Sierra Petrovita at the Nuka-Cola bottling plant to complete the quest, the Nuka-Cola Challenge. Considering that there are only 94 bottles of Nuka-Cola Quantum in the entire game of Fallout 3, aside from those that can be randomly generated from looking inside Nuka-Cola machines, it's important that we do not drink these and we do not put them in a refrigerator. Putting them in a refrigerator back at our player home will turn them into ice-cold Nuka-Cola Quantum, which we can't turn in to complete the quest. So instead, let's store these in a safe place back at home. When done, we can head back to Moira Brown at Megaton to tell her of our success.
So, how's the scabbing been? Got the food medicine from that Super Duper Mart?
Now, as I said at the beginning, we have dialogue options here that will alter the perk we eventually get. If we pass a speech check to lie and tell her that we didn't find any food at the Super Duper Mart...
Really? Oh, that's a shame. I guess it was an obvious place for people to get food, so it all got taken long ago, huh? Still, good work checking it out. And have some food, as thanks for the work. It's a shame you didn't find any there.
We get an inferior perk, so we're going to skip that each time. Instead, we can tell her that we found the food and medicine.
Really? You did? You did! Well, all right. Tell me all about it.
Now, the options we get after this are dependent upon the special stats that we chose for our character. There will be a unique dialogue option for every special stat that is over 7. Standard replies are always available. That's the first one on this list. Consistently choosing standard replies increases our overall HP with the final perk. Snide or snarky replies are also always available. That's the last one on this list. Consistently choosing snide replies gives us a final perk that increases our critical hit chance. And then we'll get unique replies based on our special attributes. We'll get a smart reply, which is based on either intelligence or perception. If we choose this one, the final perk we get increases our science and medicine skill levels. Or we can choose a tough reply, which we'll only see if we have 7 or greater strength or endurance. Consistently choosing the tough response will give us a higher damage resistance with the final perk. And finally, we can choose a sly reply. This only appears if we have high enough charisma or agility. Consistently choosing these speech options gives us a final perk that increases our sneak and speech skills. My intelligence is high, I have access to the smart option, so I'll show you the standard, the snide, and the smart replies. I found raiders and a robot. It was hardly a safe place to scavenge.
Whoa, really? Raiders and robots? I guess I wasn't the only one to think about checking those stores. Looks like you gotta be careful looting them.
The raiders were using the pharmacy as a place to store their best gear.
So you're saying that they acquired a well-protected stash? I wonder how many other places are hiding treasures behind monsters.
I had a fun party with some raiders. Then a guard robot jumped out of a cake.
Well, as long as it was no problem for you then. I mean, who doesn't enjoy cake? Other than robots, of course. I bet they prefer pie. Or maybe pie. Well, keep what you got. Just traded for a big food shipment myself. Here, take a bit, my treat. The taste kind of, grates after a while. Oh, and take this. It's an old food sanitizer. Just carry it with you, and it should automatically make most food and drink more... better.
What's this about the radiation?
Well, that's what I need your help for, isn't it? I know lots about it from books, but I never seem to get a live example. Not for long, anyway. So I need you to get a bit of radiation poisoning, so I can study its effects. Oh, not a deadly dose, of course. I can fix you up before that.
Now we can pass a science check here to explain the effects of radiation.
Oh, but nothing beats a real-world example. And I have a new rad treatment I was just itching to try out on a live subject. But I guess you're right, and at least it keeps you safe and sound for later testing. Here's some spare chems for your help.
We get some chems, but an inferior perk. So let's go back. Moira, you want me to get irradiated? How could that possibly be worth it for me?
Oh, don't worry so much about it. I'll be here waiting with a nice tall glass of rad cleansing Brahmin milk for you when you get back. Well, mostly just a whole lot of Rad X and Rad Away. And maybe even a more reliable way to get rid of radiation. Assuming it works, of course.
All right, I'll do it.
Oh, you're a peach. Or at least some sort of hardy fruit that grows in the savagely irradiated mockery of agriculture we have nowadays. Now, 200 rads should be enough for basic sickness. But if you can get 600 or more rads, my test will be even more accurate. Just make sure you can get back here, and I'll see to it that you're well taken care of.
By completing the Super Duper Mart portion of the quest, we got the food sanitizer. The food sanitizer does not remove radiation from food. All it does is increase the HP value of food that you consume by 20%. It does come with this fun little note. Congratulations on your purchase of the Tasty Clean Sanitizer, another household health essential from Braxodyne Chemical. Using your Tasty Clean Sanitizer is simple. Just carry the sanitizer with your food or beverages and our patented Abraxolux Bacto Scour process will remove any trace of bacteria even before you take your first bite or drink. Abraxo's dietary engineers have proven that using the Tasty Clean Sanitizer unlocks additional nutritional health benefits. So enjoy your food again, free of filth and grime. And remember, Abraxo for all your cleaning needs.
Warning, product is not guaranteed to sanitize all food and drink. Abraxodyne is not responsible for any sickness, paralyzation, blindness, or death that may result from unauthorized use.
Oh, Abraxodyne. These pre-war companies in the Fallout universe never fail to disappoint. So, next we need to collect Rads. 200 Rads to complete the quest, or 600 to complete the optional portion. Well, there are a number of ways to collect Rads in the Wasteland, but probably the quickest is to get naked and to drink water from the pool surrounding the nuclear bomb in the middle of town.
Feel his glow and be divided. There shall be no tears, no sorrows, no suffering, for in the division we shall see our release from the pain and hardships of this world.
At last, we have 600 Rads and we can go back to Moira to complete the quest.
Oh, feeling a bit under the weather? Or a bit over the Geiger counter?
Moira, this was a ridiculous request. You do realize that, right?
I realize a lot of things, but this isn't one of them because it's a real scientific necessity and not ridiculous at all. What I mean is, I need this research, and you're probably going to get irradiated out there anyway. So, why not come back here and help me too?
I am not comfortable getting this irradiated.
Not even for humanity? Not even for science?
I'm about as irradiated as I can get without burning a hole in the floor.
I can tell. You're positively glowing. Now, just hold on and try not to move. Tell me how it feels, and I'll get you fixed right up.
Too tired to be snide.
You're a lucky one, you know. At this level, most people don't make it. But then again, most people don't have my experimental tricks. Now, after taking a few notes, I'll take care of that nasty radiation with a bit of my own homemade concoction. I've never had the chance to test it out on someone so heavily dosed. Oh, but I'm sure it'll work out fine. Exciting, isn't it? Okay, a little Brahmin milk, a couple magnets, and maybe a few happy thoughts. Well, you're alive! Oh, that's the good news. But there was a little side effect. A teeny tiny, mutation. But it seems to be benign, at least. Here, take a few radiation chems as my little way of saying, I'm sorry I twisted your DNA like a kitten with a ball of yarn.
If we collect the 600 rads, we get the Rad Regeneration perk, which automatically regenerates our limbs while we're suffering from advanced radiation poisoning. To finish this chapter of the Wasteland Survival Guide, we need to do some research about some landmines.
Landmines are one of the few dangers out there that you can profit from. Disarm one before it blows, and you can sell it for plenty of caps. I've heard stories about a ghost town that's just full of mines. Traders just call the place Minefield. Sounds like the place for some field work. Get in there, get back, and tell me all about it. And could you bring back a mine for my studies?
This seems kind of unhealthy. How will you make it worth my while?
What better reward for avoiding explosives than to pay you with explosives? Frag grenades, in this case. I got a pretty good haul of them recently. And if you bring me back something to study, maybe I can make some modifications for you. Nothing like tinkering with a live mine, right?
What can you tell me about this minefield, Moira?
They say it was a town called Ridgefield, until slavers cleared it out. Now, it's supposedly cursed and just a death trap to visitors. Now, everyone calls the place Minefield and says it's a ghost town. Superstitious nonsense, of course, but that's how people think. You'll be fine.
All right, I'll head to the minefield. Wish me luck.
Oh, don't worry. No one ever goes there because they say it's a ghost town. And since ghosts don't exist, you can just focus on the landmines. I hear there's a playground in the middle of town. Reach that point and come back, and I'm sure you'll have some stories to tell.
Right, so we need to find this minefield and somehow deal with the ghost that's haunting it. The minefield is actually a bit of a walk away, and for a new character like mine that hasn't explored much of the map at all, it was quite a trek from Megaton all the way to the minefield. Along the way, we stumble upon a scrapyard. This is the very same scrapyard John talked about in his letter, the one we found on his corpse. Now, this scrapyard is actually the secret lair of Littlehorn and Associates. We find a note sending us to Littlehorn and Associates to get the Contract Killer perk. With this perk, we can cut off the ears of all good karma people that we kill, which we can return to Littlehorn and Associates for caps and evil karma. I have not found this note yet, and I haven't decided yet whether I want to play a good or evil person with this character yet, so we're gonna save Littlehorn and Associates for another day. But as we explore this scrapyard, we hear the sounds of battle. Rounding the corner, we see that raiders have already been dealt with by a dog. And not just any dog, none other than Dogmeat. Of course, with all of these dialogue options, Dogmeat simply responds, bark bark. We can have him stay here, or we can encourage him to come with us. And with that, we get everyone's favorite canine companion, Dogmeat. But we came here to find that stash talked about on the note. The note said to look by the door to a bus. It's really tricky to find. It can help to turn on the local map, but eventually, if we look on the ground by the door to a bus, here in the scrapyard, we find John's treasure box. Inside the treasure box are magazines, Grognak the Barbarian, guns and bullets, and US Army 30 handy flamethrower recipes. These will increase our melee, guns, and big gun skills by 2. But back to the job at hand, we need to find the minefield and deal with the ghost. Following the road north of the scrapyard, we see a town emerging in the distance. This very town is the minefield. As we get close, we see some of the mines and we can start to disarm them. But as we do, we hear the sounds of sniper fire. A sniper is shooting at us and the vehicles we pass by to cause them to explode to kill us. Now, some may think that this is a ghost, but with our Gauss rifle, we can look down the scope to see a sniper standing on a ruined structure shooting at us. This old man is Arkansas. He snipes at us with his gun, and if we get within melee range, he will lob grenades and bombs at us. We can kill him. On his body, we find a key that will open up the 3 houses in this minefield. But I don't know. I mean, yes, he did open fire on us, but he's just an old man trying to protect his home. I want to see if I can do this without killing him. I also want to keep him alive because Arkansas plays a pivotal role in the saga of Paradise Falls. So I'm going to reload a save that I made just before arriving at this minefield. I'm going to tell Dogmeat to wait here, and then I'm going to don my Chinese stealth armor that I got from the Operation Anchorage simulation. This is going to make me invisible to Arkansas. However, even while wearing it, Arkansas will still shoot at the vehicles I pass by. I still need to keep my distance because if I don't, when they explode, I could die. Without the key on Arkansas's body, we have to use our lockpicking skill to unlock the doors to the 3 houses in the minefield. The first is the Benson House. And going upstairs, we see a dead raider with his legs hanging off the balcony. In the rooms, we find dead Wastelanders. We find a copy of DC Journal of Internal Medicine on one of the desks, which permanently increases our medicine skill by 2. And we start to understand why Arkansas might be shooting at anyone who comes into the minefield. Continuing along, we can loot dozens of landmines. They litter the road, but also off the road. There is no safe place to walk in this town. The next house is the Gillian House. Here we have to kill some rad roaches, and we find human skeletons in the bathroom. Going upstairs, we have even more rad roaches to kill. We find toys in this child's room, and on the bed, a copy of Grognek the Barbarian, which increases our melee by 2, and more skeletons in the upstairs bathroom as well. These people were likely killed by raiders and then their corpses devoured by rad roaches. The last thing of note in this residence is an easy locked safe that we find under the bed. The final home here is the Gibson House. As soon as we enter, we see the dead body of a raider lying in the middle of the floor. On a shelf by the TV is an interesting container, is the model of a home, locked with a very hard lock. We'll need a skill of 100 or more to pick it. It's unlikely we'll have it, but just in case you do, inside we find 3 buff out, some potato crisps, and some pre-war money. A little bit disappointing, but an interesting container. On the table in the office, we find a copy of Tumblers Today, which permanently increases our lockpick skill by 2. And going upstairs, we find the bedrooms. The child that once lived here must have been a cripple. We find toys in his room, but also a medical brace on top of his bookshelf, near to some surgical tubing and crutches. In the master bedroom, we find the parents dead in the master bed, still in a loving embrace. They were likely killed while they slept by raiders. And the last thing of note in this home is an easy locked safe hidden behind the bookshelf. We don't learn much about Arkansas in the game itself, but the Fallout 3 survival guide gives us a little bit of his history. We saw the evidence of raiders in these houses, but we learned from the survival guide that these raiders were actually slavers. They came to this town and enslaved everyone who lived here, killing the people who resisted, while Arkansas was a young boy. Arkansas managed to hide from the slavers, only to emerge later to find his parents, his neighbors, missing or killed. Instead of leaving, he decided to fortify and defend this minefield. As a young boy, he began to spread rumors through the nearby communities of new inhabitants at this town who were ripe for the picking, just ready to be kidnapped by slavers and sold into slavery. But instead, he placed landmines all over the town and took up a sniper's roost. The slavers organized and attacked the town, but they couldn't survive his booby traps. They died by the dozens to landmines and sniper fire and never came back. Decades have gone by. Arkansas is now an old man, but still every day he goes to his sniper tower with his sniper weapon in hand and picks off any raider who comes to his town. The problem is Arkansas can't distinguish between raider and explorer, which of course is why he opens fire on you. We may have to deal with Arkansas in a future episode, but for now I'm going to leave this poor old man be. But we still have to make it to the playground. We can't pass the quest until we make it to the playground alive. Using my Chinese stealth armor, I snuck to the playground and ascended the slide in the middle of the playground to complete the quest. When done, I retrieved Dogmeat, and together he and I went back to Craterside Supply to tell the good news to Moira.
How are those hot little potatoes? Because, they're on the ground, like potatoes, and hot because they, explode. Anyway, what's up?
I managed to get through the minefield alive, and I even brought you a present.
My very own landmine! Oh, just what I've always wanted. Well, always since I sent you out on this anyway. Now, tell me all about it. What was it like going through there? What's it like disarming a landmine?
Strangely enough, we don't have an intelligence option here. We can be snide or straight. Oh, it's really easy to disarm a landmine. You just jump up and down on it. You go first.
You think I'm an idiot? I may be a little impulsive, but not an idiot. I'll just take a look at this on my own then.
I'm just kidding. That whole town is a trap. There was a sniper out there just waiting for me.
Not quite as much of a ghost town as they say, is it? Good work staying calm and collected under pressure. It'll be a great example for the book. I know you may not want to see any more explosives for a while, but obviously you know your way around them. Have a couple rainy day toys of mine. And looking at this landmine, it gives me an idea. It's a terrible device that does terrible things, of course, but it's easy to make your own, too.
By completing this portion of the quest, we gain the bottle cap mine schematics. We can now make bottle cap mines at any workbench, as long as we have the parts. And with that, we complete Chapter 1 and can then start work on Chapter 2. In Chapter 2, we're gonna make a mole rat repellent, study mirelurks, and a whole lot more, but I'm gonna have to save that for another episode. I remember doing the Wasteland Survival Guide quest years ago, back when I first played Fallout 3. It's an extremely detailed and well-made quest, taking us to a lot of interesting places in the capital Wasteland. I'm getting a big dose of nostalgia by replaying these events, and I hope you guys are too. Stay tuned for Chapters 2 and 3 of the Wasteland Survival Guide, which is going to take us into more dangerous territory. I'm going to be doing a whole lot more Fallout 3 videos, ladies and gentlemen. I've been reading all of your comments on all of my other videos and taking notes of all of the places you have requested that I visit in Fallout 3. So never fear, ladies and gentlemen, I will hit them all. I'm also considering doing a short video on the My Megaton home, because there are a lot of options, different themes that we can use, and I'm not sure everyone has seen all of them, so if you think that would be an interesting video, say yay or nay in the comments section below. I publish a new video 6 days a week, so if you want to make sure that you don't miss my next Fallout 3, Fallout New Vegas, or Fallout 4 video, be sure to subscribe and click that bell notification button. And did you know I've got a t-shirt shop? That's right, ladies and gents, I've got a Teesprings t-shirt shop with Oxhorn and Fallout-themed shirts. You can find a link to my shop in the description below. And if you like what I do and you want to support me in a more personal way, consider becoming one of my patrons on Patreon. Patreon subscribers gain access to a private channel on my Discord server, as well as a bunch of other cool Oxhorn perks. But more than anything, ladies and gentlemen, I'm just so glad you're here watching this video with me today. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you Tuesday morning, bright and early, with a brand new video.